Caroline Dowd-Higgins. Thank you for listening to Your Working Life, my podcast series featuring thought leaders in the career and personal growth arena. Now, I know that you spend a significant portion of your life at work, so I'm on a mission to provide you with tools, inspiration, and resources so you can enjoy your career and love your life. And I'm very pleased to welcome my special guest to the show today, Jason Hanold. Jason, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Caroline. It's wonderful to be here.
Well, I'm glad you're here. And I know, are you in Chicago today? I know you're based in Chicago.
I am. Today is one of those rare days where I am in a very gray Chicago area.
Okay, got it, got it. Well, I want to share with our audience that you are the CEO and managing partner of Hanold Associates HR Executive Search. Based in Chicago's North Shore, you specialize in assignments for human resources, talent acquisition, workforce analytics, labor relations, total rewards, talent management officers, and HR succession projects. So soup to nuts, Jason, you do it all. And
Yeah,
what I
absolutely.
Yeah, you do. And what I love about your expertise is we're going to dive into a juicy conversation about career growth, right? Because so many of the people listening on the show are looking for new opportunities. And this time of year is a classic reinvention opportunities. So let's talk about that right off the bat. What tips do you have for people looking for new careers this new year?
Our tips and counsel to folks who are looking for new career opportunities or new paths, and sometimes it's within the same career, but looking at different employers.
Yeah.
One is it's doing and being very much aware of yourself. What's important to you? What are your passions? What are your missions? To people who are naturally self-aware, they're very clear on what interests them, right? What they want to do. You may be amazed at a lot of conversations we have with folks where we have to pull that out of folks. We have to get them clear on, what are some of my passions in life, and can I have it as my mission to blend my vocation with my avocation? And we love to help people do that. My tip to folks is going to market. It's forget everything you were taught early on in your career search about being scripted, about having great answers ready to go, because in today's market, it's about authenticity. It's about being genuine with those who are considering you. And one of the things I remind folks is think about yourself as the hiring manager or that recruiter. They won't hire who they don't know. And they can't get to know you unless you are willing to be transparent and open about who you are and what you want to do. In other words, you can only trust those you know. And if you don't really reveal much about who you are, how can you expect others to trust you and therefore get to know you and hire you? And so it's about being very transparent, authentic, and genuine with everybody you're interacting with about your aspirations, your desires, and put it out there. Be vulnerable. Because, by the way, wouldn't you want to partner with or work for and with people who accept you just as you are and want to help promote and develop that?
Well, you can't see me, but I'm smiling ear to ear because I agree with you wholeheartedly. And the phrase that I banter about is employers hire who they know and trust, which is really just a paraphrase of what you've said. And thank you for saying be authentic, be genuine. Sometimes people are so perfect in an interview that it's not real. And you have to get to the crux of who that person is, right? Can I work with them? Will I enjoy them? Do they survive the airport test if we get stuck together for 8 hours, right?
That's right. That's right. Well, and that is such it's something that even with some folks, you share that counsel and they'll go in and it's hard to kind of rewire yourself to not be prepared with your own interview questions. And more importantly, as you're going out and embarking on a career change or interviewing with folks out there, don't be just simply the recipient of the questions, right? You have to be prepared to share examples of work you've done and what you've done and who you are, but at the same time, lead with your own intellectual curiosity. Back years ago when I was at McKinsey, we would study the best of the best performers within that organization. And what we found there and at Whirlpool and other organizations I've been a part of, the best performers are never the people with the best answers, but they're always the people with the best questions. And so even as an interviewer today and tons of recruiters that I know out there, What we enjoy most are the conversations we have with candidates who actually bring their thought, their energy, their commitment to the process through their questions. They're curious. They want to know more, and employers love to hire curious people.
It's true. I think curiosity is one of the most important competencies, and goodness knows we're not talking about that enough, certainly in university and beyond. So thank you for mentioning that. So, Jason, what about particular industries, right? I know you really work in a broad spectrum of industries, but where is the growth these days, and are there hotspots that we need to be aware of?
Yeah, so the good news is this. Across industries, most are experiencing a significant amount of growth. Even if you look out there on the internet, for top growth industries, it's very difficult to find reputable sources that are aligned on what the top growth industries are. So that's good news for everybody, right? If from the clients that we work with, and because we're functional specialists, we do work across industries, but we're continuing to hear strong demand specific to retail industries in the coming year and how they'll continue to scale. Medical devices and semiconductors, that
Hmm.
continues to be a strong infrastructure backbone of our economy and what we're doing. We're hearing more at the lower level and mid levels for banking industries, and environmental and life sciences is going to be big in the coming year. And even one that kind of mid year, they thought, well, it's not going to be so strong in the coming year, but it's the energy industry, right? Whether
Yes.
it be
Yeah.
in the broader sectors that are subsumed within energy.
So, Jason, let's talk a little bit about how jobs and career positions have changed. During the most recent recession, and I say that because we know it's cyclical, these things come and go. But in the most recent recession, we saw a lot of downsizing or right sizing, as we heard, and we were dealing with leaner, meaner staffs, right? So, are people taking on more, or are they adding more staff? What does that look like in companies these days?
Well, there's a few forces coming together. First of all, organizations in the way they manage their cultures are becoming much more sophisticated. And what they're doing more specifically is most companies are attempting to elevate the level of engagement in their employee population. That's a $10 word. What's engagement mean? Basically, engagement is the discretionary effort that you or I bring to work every day, right? We can do a little or we can do a lot based on how enthused we are to be doing what we do. When you have a more highly engaged workforce, basically you can do more, you can achieve more, produce more with fewer people, right? And so organizations have found the value in great engagement well beyond the nice to haves and being great brand ambassadors for the companies they represent, but they see it in a very tangible measurement in productivity. And so while organizations are scaling, and if they have great cultures and great environments, they can scale with fewer people, but because they have a highly engaged workforce that treats their customers better, that employees throughout the organization that engage more, these businesses are healthier. So they're growing more, and so net net, they're still scaling and growing with more people that are actually happier to be a part of the organization. So you're
Excellent.
seeing that engagement work across organizations as well.
Got it. Got it. So let's talk a little bit about your organization, right? So many of the listeners are saying, "Ah, I need to contact Jason, executive search." But there's a clear candidate that's right for executive search, and then those that are not. Perhaps they will be ready in years to come. But define who is the ideal candidate in executive search, and do you find them, or should they reach out to you?
Yeah, so typically it happens both ways. So just to explain, and some people aren't familiar with how executive search works, we are retained by a client organization, whether it be a Nike or eBay or AbbVie or Biogen. Um, and they are essentially partnering with us to go find a candidate for them that fits a very specific requirement, right? Depending on the role, that drives a requirement. And then we go find these people. Now, because we happen to specialize in the world of HR, we
Hmm.
usually know the first 2 dozen calls we're going to make to folks,
Right.
but still in the course of that search, we'll meet new people. And by the way, recruiting is a very serendipitous activity. Just as I'm starting a new search for an organization, all of a sudden somebody may happen to reach out to me that's absolutely perfect for that particular profile. That just happened with the search we're doing for Northwestern University for their head of learning and development. Right after we started the search, someone who met that profile just happened to reach out to network, and now we could have a very tangible conversation about that particular opportunity. Um, but what is helpful for folks to do at all levels, it's understanding whether it be routine executive search firms or staffing agencies that work at the lower and mid-level, it's understanding those that are aligned to their particular specialty. It's knowing that those firms aren't going to be their agents per se, that will proactively go out and look for work on their behalf. However, it behooves you to get to know several recruiters in your particular space. And the more enlightened recruiter will build that relationship. And when that search comes up that's right for you and that client that they're serving, they will reach out to you. Now, I will always tell my clients, let's be clear, although you're retaining me to serve your interest, I best serve your interest by first serving candidate interest.
Yes.
And what I mean by that is I'm not going to play any role in introducing someone to a culture that I know is not going to be right for them over the long term. And most recruiters will follow that kind of guidance and kind of integrity test for the profession in doing what we do. So I recommend to folks, be very clear, authentic, transparent about why you're reaching out to a recruiter. Do your homework first. Ensure that they're aligned and they can be helpful to you. Why do I do what I do? And it's important to share this because I think it applies to a lot of recruiters. Fundamentally, I love playing a small role in bettering someone else's situation in life. So when people reach out to me, I love connecting them. And sometimes it has nothing to do with the search I'm working on. I've probably played a role in putting many more people in roles where I had nothing to do with a client relationship, but I knew of an organization that had a need, and I just met a great person, and I wanted to make that connection. And so that's why it's always helpful to interact and get to know recruiters, because most of them love connecting people. They find it intrinsically rewarding.
Well, and like you said, it's good career karma, right? So you pay it forward to someone else, and then something wonderful happens on the other end. So that's just the right thing to do. Jason, I'd
Absolutely.
like to hear, though, from you as the executive search expert. So we've got candidates out there listening. How can they make themselves more attractive to the recruiters, right? What are your thoughts on online profiles such as LinkedIn and, materials, even networking? What's the message that they need to convey to you to land?
The primary social media tool for recruiters is going to be LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
Facebook and other social media avenues, those come into play more often if you're doing a background check on a particular candidate that's already in process.
Got it.
But to reach out to identify, it's primarily through LinkedIn. I would encourage everyone to have a pretty robust LinkedIn profile. Be clear on it. Show your interests, show your passions. Many people will hold back on activities or areas of interest for them. But understand, when we're putting people forward or when we're reaching out to people, think about human nature, right? As you're preparing your profile, preparing your resume. People love to find and identify points of commonality, right? So if opera is important to you, if mountain climbing is important to you, if skiing is important, put it on
Put it
there.
on there. Yeah.
That's absolutely, because, again, this goes back to the very beginning of our conversation. People will hire who they know and trust. And a great way to get to know somebody beyond the, tell us about your strengths and weaknesses, is to talk about your interests, to talk about your passions. And so be out there with it. So to me, I encourage people to be open, to be willing to be vulnerable, which, by the way, is also one of the strongest traits of the best leaders in the world, is their
Yes.
willingness to be vulnerable. And so if you want to emulate great leaders in the world, simply be vulnerable yourself as a candidate and put it out there. Be authentic.
Brilliant, brilliant. So let's talk about how the employers have evolved and what characteristics are becoming most important to them in this new year. Well, you mentioned vulnerability, curiosity, right? But what are some other thoughts?
Well, Caroline, that's a phenomenal question, and there's been a fundamental paradigm shift over the last 2 to 3 years, and it continues to get stronger. And that is this: employers really used to lean into their assessments in testing for appropriate experiences. Most all 90% of your interview conversation was about your experiences. More and more of our clients, from small boutiques to small business enterprises to major multinationals, they're assessing more for potential and capacity. That means they're wanting to learn more about your core characteristics. They want to know about whether you are authentic, whether you're a compassionate human being, whether you have a natural intellectual curiosity. Do you have balance? Do you have multidimensional balance in your life? Do you have grit? And grit, by the way, is a characteristic concoction, really a cocktail of motivation to succeed, ambition, a willingness to get things done? Do you establish followership where other people want to walk through walls just to help make you successful? That's grit. Employers, by and large, are now assessing for these characteristics. And if you have those characteristics, there's more of a confidence in the employers that, okay, we can teach them to do about anything and they'll figure it out. And so they'll test for learning agility. And somebody with a high degree of learning agility, a strong sense of intellectual capacity and intellectual curiosity, these people are unstoppable. You can put them in most roles and they'll figure it out. And so to answer your question, employers have become much more enlightened in terms of how they assess talent today, how they get to know talent. And that's good news for people who don't have an abundance of experience. And by the way, this plays very well into the hands of millennials, where millennials embrace organizations that are more of a meritocracy today. Mm-hmm. They embrace organizations where it's not about time and tenure and role before I can advance and have more responsibility. And so that aligns very well with employers who can assess for potential and capacity and reward and promote and develop accordingly. So it's good news for everybody all around.
Absolutely. I'm so happy that you mentioned grit. I'm smiling and we can't see each other because we've just got audio, but grit is such an important trait. It's that tenacity and that resilience. And like you said, what kind of leader that creates this situation that their team would do anything for them. That is such an important factor. So thank you for mentioning that. Jason, I have a question. As a career and executive coach myself, I'm sure you get some people that are just not quite ready for public consumption. Great potential, right? But they're just not ready to put forward for, said opportunity. So, and again, you tell me, because your organization has so much to offer. Do you coach as well? Do you have staff that actually say, okay, Jane Doe, you've got great potential here, but we need to polish. We need to get you to that next level?
Yes, absolutely. So we don't have what I would call a separate coaching practice per se, but boy, do we coach, and we give transparent feedback, and we help to shape, and we love to watch people evolve over time, right? For 3-4 moves out from now. And so coaching is part of what we do every day. I find that executive coaching, without having the context of the organization that you're a part of, becomes very difficult, right? It's almost like one hand behind your back.
True.
However, you can give that very powerful feedback to people as they're going through the process. And then more importantly, we really help coach once someone lands in an organization, right? Help them to navigate those first 90 days, right? So there's that onboarding process. There's the orientation that lasts the first couple of weeks. There's the onboarding that's the first 3 months or so. And then there's that first year. And so we really like to coach our candidates on how to get traction, how to build credibility over that first year. And more importantly, one thing that candidates will often drop the ball on, no matter how ready or prepared or ill-prepared they are for the role, is not enough people are expressing gratitude to those who have helped them in their journey, right? Not just the ones who helped them land in the job, but those who help them every bit of the way, and those who are helping them gain footing in their new organization. So are you, running so fast that you're so consumed with yourself and your own credibility building, your own relationship building? Are you pausing once you join that company to express your gratitude to those who are taking time out of their schedules to help you sink in, to help you plant those seeds for relationships in the future? And so that tends to be a miss at all levels. And I think it's something for all of us in life. Do we take that time to express our gratitude to people who help us be successful by whatever definition that is for each of us?
Well, those are 3 extraordinary takeaways: grit, gratitude, and curiosity. Wonderful. Jason, what a joy to have you on. I want you to tell our listening audience how they can find Hanold Associates online and perhaps via social media. How should they track you down?
Absolutely. So our website is a great destination to go to. It gives a sense of the clients we're serving and the specific positions that we're looking for. And our team bios are there. Our website address is www.hanold-associates.com. And then, of course, our LinkedIn profiles are all online as well. So we look forward to helping anybody we can with counsel advice from what we call our peanut gallery over here.
Fantastic. Jason, thank you so much for sharing your time and expertise today. I wish you great success as the new year moves forward, and thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Caroline. We love what you're doing out there and wish you continued success as well.
Thank you, my dear. I hope our paths cross soon, perhaps in Chicago.
Absolutely.
And I want to thank our listeners for tuning into Your Working Life, where my goal is to help you design your career destiny so it doesn't happen by default. True career and life satisfaction is possible, and it's time to embrace what you love doing so you can do more of it. I'm Caroline Dowd-Higgins. Take good care.